Welcome back, EALD students, to yet another video. And this time we are going to look at different writing styles. First thing we're going to look at is tone. So tone is obviously an important aspect of writing. WAIS writing requires students to be very academic when it comes to the writing style. When we say academic, what exactly do we mean? We mean we need to see that the tone of the writing is more serious. Therefore, you have to be more serious when you write. You can't make jokes. You try to avoid being informal. You sound like you mean business. The next thing is the tone of writing has to be more factual. You should include statistics, data, information, references to texts, especially if the question asks of it. Some questions where they don't ask for textual evidence, you can still quote text, but it won't be short stories or films. You can quote like academic journals, you can quote internet articles, or encyclopedias, whatever that you've read before. So that's also factual. The third thing you need to do is to make sure that the tone of writing is less personal. So you can't be too chummy when it comes to writing your letters. You're not writing to your buddy. You are not writing to a family member. You are not writing to a friend. You're writing to someone that has usually a station of authority. They're usually like either the head of the program or a director or something like that. So they're usually always someone who has a big position in life. So you kind of have to be more formal and less personal. Okay, so that's the tone. Now let's look at how to write seriously in letters. Now in WAIS letter writing, all the questions require the candidates to write formal letters. There's never been a case where they actually ask you to write informal letters before. So formal letters address the person they are writing to formally. You have to use titles like Miss, Mr., Madame, etc. Surnames are also acceptable, but always should be accompanied with a title. So you could say, Dear Mr. Banner, for example, or Dear Miss Ludwig, or for example, Dear Madame Beaumont. If you want to, you can use that. That is an option. Because the letter is formal, the candidate must refrain from being too emotional in the letter, even if the letter is asking you to persuade the reader to do something. So when you're persuading someone, you shouldn't be too emotional about it. You have to try to maintain formality even when you're asking someone a favor. You should not make demands. You cannot be rude when asking for a favor or something else. When you ask for something, almost always these letters, the nature of them are persuasive. They require the candidate to persuade the reader to do something about an issue or some sort. So you have to try to be as polite but as persuasive as can be. Let's look at an example of a paragraph. This is a very short excerpt that we're going to look at. We're just going to examine the tone. So when requesting someone to do something, for example, it would mean so much to us, Sunway College students, to be able to organize this event for the benefit of all of the students. With this event, not only will it bring all of us together and increase a sense of camaraderie and teamwork, but it will also undoubtedly increase awareness of embracing acceptance. With your approval, surely Sunway College will be able to make a name for itself in its work to get people to look beyond skin color, age, or religion. So this is a very short paragraph, and it's basically a paragraph that talks about how Sunway College is trying to organize an event and basically the benefits of it. Now let's examine the tone further. This part here, it would mean so much to us. What does that really actually signify? When you write something like it would mean so much to us, that shows that you are already trying to persuade people. When a person, like the reader, reads this kind of sentence or this kind of phrase, they immediately feel, hey, it would mean so much to these people if I help them out. If I do this, they would be so thankful. I'm helping people. And sometimes help is a good thing. And it makes people feel good about themselves. So they want to do it. So that is a kind of phrase or sentence that you should use when you write, a letter. Sorry, excuse me. The next part, with your approval. It says here, with your approval. So that shows this person that you're writing to has power. With their approval, with their acceptance, with their green lights, immediately this thing can happen. And it's for a good cause. So of course people are more likely to want to do it. And this part here. With this event, not only will it bring all of us together and increase a sense of camaraderie and teamwork, but it will also undoubtedly increase awareness of embracing acceptance. What does that mean? It basically means that there's a good, solid reason why the person that you're writing to should totally agree with this, should totally be on board with your idea. Okay, so always be thankful or grateful to the person you are writing to. Phrases you could use. I would like to thank you for whatever, whatever. Or you could say, if you could do this for us, we would highly appreciate it. See, showing appreciation, acknowledging that person, thanking that person beforehand. And then the next one, we would be forever in your debt if you would, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so there you have it. Some of the ways, some of the phrases to show that you're grateful to the person you are writing to. It is really up to each student how you want to write it. You can use all kinds of words. You can rearrange the sentence however you like, as long as it's grammatically correct. It should not be an issue. But think about using these words actively when you write your essay, when you write your letter. Next thing is giving reasons why this person should help you. For example, if you approve of this idea, then we would certainly benefit in terms of blah, blah, blah. And next thing that you can say, the environment would most definitely improve if you were to sign this petition. Give the green light. Get on board with the program. Okay, so that also helps. This is not only a wonderful way to show some empathy, but it will also reflect positively on our college. So reasons why that person should help you out with your cause. Reasons that would interest this person. That would also make this person feel like, hey, I get a benefit out of it too. You know, like it reflects positively on our college. It reflects positively on our program. Like, you know, if you wrote a letter to Miss Bonita, for example, asking for this thing to go through, and she said, okay, and it made OSMAT more recognizable. Surely she would be on board with that. So you try to give reasons so that this person will help you. Next thing is, how formal is formal letter writing? Is it all right to use personal pronouns? Yes, this is acceptable as you have a specific reader to write to. However, please avoid overusing personal pronouns. Compare these two paragraphs and ask yourself which is more formal. So when it comes to personal pronouns, we are not so keen seeing them so frequently used in essays. Sometimes, because of the nature of the essay, it is allowed to use personal pronouns, such as letter writing, for example. Later on, you're going to look at other forms of writing, such as speech writing and also feature articles. In those kinds of essays, we allow personal pronouns, yes. But as I've said here, try to avoid overusing personal pronouns. When it's sprinkled everywhere, it becomes so informal. It becomes so different from the academic way that we're used to. And we want to see formality when it comes to writing. So even in letters, especially considering you're writing to someone who is a respected figure in their area, you should try to be more formal. Let's look at the first paragraph. Organizing this concert is surely more enriching, as it is an act of philanthropy. With all the money earned from the tickets being sold, we will be able to give all this money to charity. You will certainly feel as if whatever efforts you have put into fulfilling this is something worthwhile. If you and I and the rest of us college students were to go to the concert and pay a mere 20 ringgit per ticket, we would be able to generate 20K and more. We will surely have enough to put every single orphan into school. That's the first paragraph. A lot of students write this way. You like to use personal pronouns in your writing style. And this is understandable because when you are in year 11, which is to say whether you were doing SPM or you're doing IGCSE, whatever it was, you were constantly allowed to use personal pronouns. It was expected of you. But in college, it's different. You can't keep using personal pronouns. Let's look at the second paragraph and see how different it is. Organizing this concert is surely more enriching as it is an act of philanthropy. With all the money earned from the tickets being sold, there will be enough to give all this money to charity. All of the efforts that go into fulfilling this concert is sure to make it feel worthwhile. If every single student and staff member were willing to pay 20 ringgit per ticket, then surely it will be enough to generate more than 20K. Surely, with that amount of profit, every single orphan will be able to attend school. Notice that the second paragraph is significantly more formal because they do not use personal pronouns in that. In this second paragraph, there are no personal pronouns, and it sounds way more formal as compared to the second one. As compared to the first one. The first paragraph is way too, how do you say it? It's like very casual. It feels as if you're talking to a friend or you're writing to a friend. Whereas the second paragraph doesn't feel like that. The second paragraph is more formal, it's more acceptable, and it feels that tone that you want, that serious tone that means business, is more obvious in the second the second paragraph. Alright, so now let's look at discursive writing. Discursive essays, or when essays are discussed, when essays discuss a topic in a neutral and or persuasive manner. So it's just usually the essay not really having a specific genre, like letter writing, feature article, or speech. It doesn't have that kind of specific genre. Therefore, it doesn't have that specific type of format. It's just the normal general essay writing format that you're looking for. Now, let's look at a past year paper question. This is question number 20 from the WASTE 2011 paper. And it says, most people have a better quality of life today than they did 10 years ago. Write an essay in which you express your ideas on this statement. Refer to at least 2 texts you have read or viewed, as well as your own experience. So what are you expected to do when you get this kind of question? Basically, as a candidate, you're expected to discuss the topic, people having a better quality of life today than 10 years ago. That's your topic. That's the main thing that you need to discuss. But you have to look at other areas of the question as well, such as you are expected to support your ideas. It says here, express your ideas on this statement. So you have to support your ideas with experiences in textual evidence. It says here, refer to at least 2 texts. So you have no choice but to talk about the texts you've studied so far. And in a question like this, you don't have to pick a side. Okay, you can opt to. These are some of the things that you can opt to do. You can agree and say that it is true, people have it good nowadays than 10 years ago. Or you can say you disagree and say that 10 years ago was better because of less crime rate or whatever. Or you can also agree with both viewpoints. You can say, yeah, it's true, people nowadays have it good because of technology. But 10 years ago, they had lesser crime rates. So picking a side and not picking one, but instead going for both is fine. It doesn't really matter. When it comes to discursive writing essays, it's fine. As I've mentioned previously, discuss a topic in a neutral manner is also acceptable. So as long as your essay is supported well with textual evidence, with information, data, statistics, internet articles you read, and experiences, and it doesn't go out of topic, you're not talking about technology, you're not talking about, your main focus is not technology, your main focus is not about movies, your main focus is about people having a better quality of life today than 10 years ago, then it should be acceptable. Okay, so the tone being more formal in a discursive letter. Let's look at this paragraph. This is a pretty long paragraph. I'm going to read it now. The quality of life is so much more today than 10 years ago because of how technology has evolved to the point of realizing the dream of globalization. People, regardless of how far apart, are able to communicate with one another. A person living in Cambodia could speak face to face albeit through a screen, with a person from the United States of America. One will only need to equip oneself with a computer, the internet, and other necessary devices, and thus exists a social interaction that crosses the globe. Human beings, being social creatures, are always eager to explore new cultures and meet new people. Building new bonds and making friends is something that enriches the lives of people as their psychological needs are met. Being cared for, having someone to talk to, bonding over common interests, and keeping in touch with loved ones no matter where one is are made so much easier for the humans of today. 10 years ago, one would have had to deal with slow internet connection and other technological hiccups. Gone are those days. Today, humans' lives are made ever richer due to technology. Personally, staying in touch with a family member living in Japan has become so much easier with the existence of Skype, FaceTime, and other social media platforms. 10 years ago, there was certainly a struggle to stay in touch and keep updated when that particular family member was living an ocean away. So that is that one whole paragraph. It is basically a paragraph that answers the previous question we looked at. Now let's look at the tone more specifically. See that sentence. Personally, staying in touch with a family member living in Japan has become so much easier with the existence of Skype, FaceTime, and other social media platforms. That you can tell because of the word personally. You know immediately that the writer is actually writing about them. That is their own personal experience. But they have done it without really using a personal pronoun. You see how formal it is? Personally, staying in touch with a family member. That sentence, so that whole thing just shows that they're talking about themselves. Personally, you know immediately that they're referring to themselves. But you don't really see the need for personal pronouns. And if you look at the rest of the paragraphs, it is the same. There's only one personal pronoun that's there, which is the word THEIR, there. And it says here, it enriches the lives of people as their psychological needs are met. Like, I think that's the only one. The others, the rest of the paragraph does not use personal pronouns. So you should do that as well. Avoid using personal pronouns even when you want to talk about yourself personally. You don't have to say, in my experience, staying in touch with my cousin, living in Japan. That sounds already very much like you're writing to a friend. So no, when it comes to discursive letter, that tone is what you want. And the next sentence, 10 years ago, there was certainly a struggle to stay in touch and keep updated when that particular family member was living an ocean away. That part right there also shows that, you don't need to use personal pronouns to explain your experiences. You can be formal and not use personal pronouns to do that. Okay, let's look at the next thing. Avoid using personal pronouns for discursive writing. So, when writing about your own personal pronoun, try your best to avoid using personal pronouns. So those are the examples, as I've said previously. Nowhere can you see in that previous paragraph any use of personal pronouns. Like you, we, us, my, mine, our, they, except for the there that I mentioned. That's like the only personal pronouns that was there. So you can have personal pronouns, but try to avoid it as much as you can. A common mistake that students make when they write a discursive essay is that they frequently use these. When personal pronouns are used, it makes it way more personal. You don't want to be too personal. You want to sound as academic, formal, and as serious as possible. Now let's look at the next thing. Textual evidence in essay writing. Avoid using sentences like, a movie I have seen, which is very good, is Rabbit Proof Fence, for example. Don't do that. This is bad. I would like to talk about a movie we watched in class. No. I don't want to hear you watch this movie in class. I don't want to hear about how you read this book while you were snuggled up in your bed. I don't need to know that. A short story that I have read is whatever. I don't need. It's so bad, so out of place. Okay, sentences like these are very informal and they feel very out of place in an academic essay. Just like Darth Vader riding a horse, like at a theme park, like those fake carousel horses. Just know, okay? All right, let's move on. Instead, according to the movie Rabbit Proof Fence, this is what happened. That is acceptable. Using phrases like, in the text, Rabbit Proof Fence, that is acceptable. In the short story, Neighbors by Tim Winton, That is acceptable. The poem Real by Stephen Oliver is about identity, for example. In reference to the short story A Call to Arms by Michelle Law, so on and so forth. Oh, it's so much better. So much better. Okay, moving on. The same goes for the thesis statement in the introduction. Many students will make the mistake of writing their thesis statements like this. The three main causes I would like to write about are, or, in this essay I would like to write about, my thesis statement is. This is not good, okay? It's very cartoony for you to say, I would like to write about. Like, you're already writing it. Why do you have to say, I would like to write about? It's already there. Your words are there. You can just go ahead and say the three main causes of whatever are, so on and so forth. In this essay, the three main causes, and you don't even have to mention in this essay. It just sounds ridiculous. It is an essay, like I already said. It's there. It's obvious. It's an essay. So you don't have to say anything anymore. Okay. And that's it. That is all for different styles of writing.